know you're able to check on hack like where you're like what rank you are in your class?
Cool. No, I
You
don't
are?
know that.
Where?
I'm gonna have to check that.
I don't know, but
I don't need to be.
my girlfriend showed me how to do it, and I think I'm like 40 or something.
How is the
You'll have to
school
show
for
me,
the
I wanna
blind
see.
supposed to check their hack?
That's kind of funny, but I don't know if that's mean also.
What is?
Okay, so I forgot how to
School
do
for the
this.
blind has a hack thing on here.
Well, maybe their guardians or parents can
I
see.
I don't understand.
It comes out of the screen so they can cover it.
They can read it.
They
in
have a
braille.
high-tech screen where it just goes with braille on it.
Okay, so there's the 8 numbers in our bucket.
Cool pitch,
Everybody okay on that? My constant is 14, 1 times 14, 2 times 7. My leading coefficient's 1. So I got only whole numbers, I only got 8 of them, so that's pretty good. Now, I've already typed this in my calculator and I've done this ahead of time. And I didn't show y'all this yesterday and I thought later I should have. So one thing you can do, this one's not bad since there's not many numbers in the bucket. But if you're struggling finding a number in the bucket that gets you the 0, you can go ahead and type it in your graphing calculator and look and see about where it crosses the x-axis to get an idea of what number to try. Good. So I've already got it typed in mine. Let me see if I can pull it up here real fast.
I remember you telling us this yesterday.
Yeah, I think my calculator wasn't working very good yesterday or something,
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
it? Okay, so I zoomed in because it's hard to see on y'all's, but this is what my zoomed in view looks like. So I see I'm probably gonna have one around 2 and then -1. Now what is up with that -1?
It
It's
doesn't touch.
barely touching.
Well, it's gonna touch it, you know, this isn't like high def megapixels.
It's not like crossing it, it's kind of just going.
It hits it and turns, right? And when it turns on a point, that means that answer is gonna be it's gonna happen more than once. So, like when I try -1 could happen twice. That's called multiplicity. So this could have multiple answers. -1 could happen multiple times, and in math that's called multiplicity. Okay? So, in my bucket, did I have a 2?
Yes.
Did I have a -1?
Yes.
Okay, I also had a 7 and a 14. I don't see it crossing anywhere near 7 and 14, so I wouldn't start with those. So all we're doing here is using our technology to help us be smarter number pickers. Does that make sense?
You.
Okay, so let's go back and set it up and try one of those that we think it crosses.
2. Let
me get mine
Number
s-
picker from yesterday.
Let me get mine set up. Got a 1x to the 5th, a -4x to the 4th, 4x cubed, 10x squared, a -13x, and a -14. So y'all did 2?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll do 2. 1 times 2 is 2. I add and get -2. -2 times 2 is -4. I add and get 0. 0 times 2 is 0. I add and get 10. 10 times 2 is 20. I add and get 7. 7 times 2 is 14. I add and get 0. So 2 is good. Okay, now, this is kind of the problem that we ended with yesterday. We still have to do more levels of synthetic division, because this was a 5th power, so we're just now to a 4th power. So I'm gonna drop another box and use my new numbers, all my new numbers except for the 0. Now what would, using our technology, what would a good answer to try be?
-1.
Okay, so let's try -1. 1 times -1 is -1. -2 plus -1 is -3. -3 times -1 is 3. 0 plus 3 is 3. 3 times -1 is -3. 10 plus -3 is 7. And 7 times -1 is -7. 7 plus 7 is 0. Okay, so I'm still not done with synthetic division yet, because this was 5th start, so here I got a 4th, I'm to the 3rd now. We can only stop synthetic division for sure when we get to quadratic, so we're just to cubic, we gotta do another check. And I tried to hint to you another check. When we looked at the graph, when we talked about where that was turning, it could happen multiple times.
-1.
So maybe -1 again. Oops.
So you can use the same one.
Mhm. And the clue that we might wanted to try that, we saw where it turned on the graph, so using that technology gives you some good hints. 1 times -1 is -1. -3 plus -1 is -4. -4 times -1 is 4. 3 plus 4 is 7, look at there. 7 times -1 is -7. And got 0.
It's fun when you get it right.
And we're gonna get to be smart number pickers because we can use our technology. Now, let me caution you on this. Not every time, if I can get back to the calculator. I mean, these are pretty close right on it. But if that's like crazy, just in between those sometimes, that's when those square root answers are gonna come in sometimes. So it might, like if this across way over here, it might look like, well, that's almost at 3, but that could actually be the square root of 10, you know, it could be something crazy that's not in your bucket. Okay, but use it when you can to help you. Alright, so we're to a quadratic level now, aren't we? Started with a fifth, so we went fourth, third, second. So this is 1x squared, grab my marker back. 1x squared minus 4x plus 7. Okay. I don't believe that'll factor, will it? A times c is 7. Are there any factors of 7 that add to -4? No, so we're going to do what?
Net x equals.
Very good. Quadratic formula. Our a is 1, our b is -4, and our c is 7. So x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that 4 times 7 is 28. So you're looking at 16 minus 28. So these are going to be imaginary ones here, aren't they? What is 16 minus 28? -12? So we got x equals 4 plus or minus the square root of -12 all over 2. Okay, now 12, we know we're going to bring an I out because we got a negative underneath the radical. 12's not a perfect square, but there is a perfect square that'll go evenly into 12.
Oh.
So this is the same as bring your I out. What's the square root of 4?
2.
So you're going to bring a 2 out. 4 times what made 12?
3.
So you're going to leave a 3 in the house. Did you follow all that? Let me, I'll write it. I just wanted to talk my way through it for you first. So x equals 4 plus or minus the square root of -1 times 4 times 3. Square root of -1 is I. Square root of 4 is 2. The 3 will stay in the house all over 2. You can reduce all that now because everything outside of the radical you can divide by 2. So that'll make 2 plus or minus 1i square root of 3. So there's 2 imaginary answers because 2 plus I squared of 3, 2 minus I squared of 3. Let's go back to our synthetic division and grab those other answers that we got. 2, -1, and -1. And you technically don't have to write the -1 twice, but I would. Because this thing started off as a 5th power. And I like to, 5th power means 5 answers. I like to see the 5 answers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So these wouldn't show up on the graph, would
The
they?
imaginary ones, no. No. Very good, very good, very good. That was a 5th power one. That's good stuff. We didn't do one that high yesterday.
Took a half a page.
Wait, oh no.
Alright, I've already got all the problems we're gonna do today written. So let me erase this so I can use it next period. Get a bigger eraser for this.
They can do a whole day's work on one page to taking one page from question.
Are you complaining?
No, I just,
No,
Sounds like you're complaining.
speaking in a, I don't know.
I don't think you're complaining. I would. There's no.
can't complain if you're gonna pull one out that doesn't have any.
I'm allowed, so I
That
really
not
can't
being
complain that much.
Okay. Fix that. Now, this one's a little bit simpler. cause it's just a third power, so after one level of synthetic division, you're gonna be able to do, solve it using a quadratic. Your bucket also doesn't have many numbers in it, cause there's not very many factors of 9, and you're only whole numbers, cause you're over 1, but you still might go to your calculator to get an idea which one to guess first. So, what are we having with the calculator? So that I'm gonna try to do it with you so we can see. Make sure I'm on the right one. Alright, so we're gonna go to y equals, we'll clear out that other one. I'm gonna just type in the equation now. X cubed plus 7x squared plus 15x, am I doing the right one? Plus 15x plus 9. Okay? And then just hit graph. Okay, so it's gonna have a multiple, isn't it? See, it turns on that one, so it's gonna be multiplicity again, it's gonna have a multiple. So that looks like -1 and -3, are those in my bucket? So those might be good ones to try to start with. Wouldn't make any sense to try 9 or +3, would it? Okay, so see, look how smart you are getting.
So our bucket would be 1, 3, and 9.
Positive, negative, yes.
My mind went
Okay. Holly, did you get it on your calculator? Alright, so let's set up our, see if I got a white one. 1, 7, 15, 9. So which one did y'all want to try first?
negative.
-3. 1 times -3 is -3. I add and get 4. 4 times -3 is -12. I add and get 3. 3 times -3 is -9. I add and get 0. So very good.
Let's go.
Okay. Now,
And you can just do
that was a cubic, so we don't have to do that anymore. We're at a quadratic now. X squared plus 4x plus 3 is equal to 0. Do the quadratic formula if you want to, but that'll factor. A times c is 3. What multiplies to make 3 but adds to make 4?
1 and 3.
X plus 1, x plus 3. Set both of those equal to 0 and solve. And isn't that exactly what we guessed by looking at the graph? Alright, so we got x is -3, -3, and -1. Hey, pretty noise. Okay, let me erase that
But
one.
if we wanted to, would we be able to go all the way using synthetic?
Yes, you could. You could for sure. And this one wouldn't have been that bad to do that, but, you know, some of those, like that one with the fractions we did yesterday, that'd be a pain.
Yeah, we shouldn't do any fractions.
I didn't think it was that high.
That one only took about a quarter of a page.
Okay, I think I got 2 more problems. Alright, so I'm gonna go and type that one into my calculator to get an idea. This one's a 5th power again.
No real answers.
So it is going to take a couple of more levels, but the bucket's small. Factors of 6, you just got 1, 2, 3, and 6. So I'm going to type in my calculator.
We're missing something.
X to the 5th minus 2x to the 4th plus, you're right, I see it now, plus 8x squared. We skipped a cube like Christian was saying. Minus 13x plus 6. Hit my graph button. Okay, so -2 and then multiple answers on one. If those are whole numbers there, those might be good places to start.
What are you using parabola?
When we, put this in synthetic division, we do need to take note of what Christian said. We're missing a cubed, so what does that mean when we set up our synthetic division?
Put a 0.
Gotta put a 0 there, very good.
I noticed that and I didn't even do it.
1x to the 5th, negative 2x to the 4th, 0x cubed, 8x squared, negative 13x, and positive 6. Okay, so what y'all wanna try first?
-2.
Yeah, -2.
Negative 2. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Add and get negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 2 is 8. Add and get 8. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16. Add and get negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 2 is 16. Add and get 3. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Add and get 0. Very good, there's an answer. This is the fourth power, so we gotta do it again. Okay, well, was negative 2 one of the ones where it turned? Or was, no, it turns on the other side, so 1, so what, 1, are y'all with me? Remember on your graph? 1 times 1 is 1, I add and get negative 3. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. I add and get 5. 5 times 1 is 5. I add and get negative 3. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. I add and get 0. Okay, so that was a fifth. We got it to a fourth with that one. We're to a third, so we need to do it again. But we see it turns on 1, so it's probably gonna have multiplicity there, so let's try 1 again, right? Y'all following that? 1 times 1 is 1, add and get negative 2. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, add and get 3. 3 times 1 is 3, add and get 0. So there's 3 of them. Now we're to a quadratic. So I'm gonna write x squared minus 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. Boy, I sure wanna make that factor, but I don't think it will. Cause it could be positive 1 and positive 3, that doesn't add to negative 2. Or negative 1 and negative 3, and that doesn't add to negative 2. So we're gonna have to do the quadratic formula.
Why can't you be in negative?
I know, it was close, wasn't it? So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now this should make sense to you right here, because we didn't see on our picture of our graph anywhere else it crossed. And this is fixing to be 4 minus 12, which is a negative. We don't see those imaginary answers. That's why they're imaginary, I guess. I don't know much about it. So 4 minus 12 is negative 8. So we've got 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 8. 8's not a perfect square, but there is a perfect square that'll go evenly into it. 2's not a perfect
Oh, wait,
square.
4.
Yeah. Negative 1 times
Two's a multiple.
4 times 2. So the square root of negative 1 brings an I out. Square root of 4 brings a 2 out. And then that 2 will stay in. And again, now you can reduce everything outside. So 2 divided by 2, that'll make 1. Plus or minus 1i, square root of 2.
I was wondering where the square came from. But that was 2 divided
Oh,
by 2.
yeah, I see what you're saying now. That looks like that. There we go. Alright, so let me go back up and grab my synthetic answers. 1, 1, and negative 2. And there's 5 answers. It's pretty good stuff. Y'all are getting good.
I like the synthetic division part.
Yeah, it's
I
not bad.
don't like the quadratic.
Oh, but you ought to be an expert at the quadratic formula by now.
Yeah. It's just, I can't write it as fast as you. Like,
Yeah.
you sing the song while writing it, and I get done making the square root when you're done.
Yeah.
Of course, I guess that's just practice.
Yeah, I've done it a few times. I don't know what's going on now. It's starting to mess up, and I think I only got one problem left. Don't mess up when I just got one problem left.
You're running out of ink. Hey,
Yep.
Christian, go get more ink.
Where we at?
Next to the blanket.
me, he'd probably take his sweet time.
Oh, yeah.
Take your sweet time doing it, as long as you could.
Okay, so if I'm remembering right from when I wrote this on here this morning at 5:30, this last one, we're gonna go backwards.
Like,
Yep, so I've given you the zeros, and we gotta write the polynomial function.
that's not fair.
Okay, so it's just backwards of what we've been doing. We ended up and we got an answer that said x equals 3, and we got an answer that said x equals 2 plus the square root of 5, and we gotta get that big polynomial function. So, if x equals 3, what would that look like in factor form? Because that's what we're gonna have to do to get the polynomial, is multiply the factors together. Okay, so if you got an answer that said x equals 3, what would that look like in your factor form?
X minus.
Very good. It's just the opposite sign. So x minus 3. So we already know one factor. So I'm going to write f of x is equal to x minus 3. Now on this is weird, but check out, I'm going to write it the exact same way I just wrote that. Times x minus that whole thing. Okay. I need another parentheses, don't I? Okay, now, there's another answer that they didn't write down that is hidden. Do you know what it is?
2 minus.
Very good, because anytime you square root, right here you can be plus or minus. So there's a hidden answer there. So I'm going to write x minus 2 minus the square root of 5. Because when you square root, you can be plus or minus. So we technically have 3 answers up there. So what degree is this thing going to be to when we get done?
Cube.
Cubic, very good. Now, I'm going to multiply these two together first because these are ugly and I want to get rid of the harder stuff first, and it's going to look funny, but this is, even though it looks like there's a lot of stuff going on, it's just like a binomial times a binomial. So I'm going to do those first and get an answer, and then we'll distribute the x minus 3 to it after that. Okay, so, let's see here. That'll get me an x squared. Okay, follow this. This is the hard part. Here I got an x times a negative one of those hunks, right? So that's going to mean minus, and we're just going to write that just like it kind of looks. Okay, is that all right? Now here, when I go to take this, is this not going to be the same thing? Yeah? Because a positive times a negative is a negative. And I got another x, 2, oh, that's a plus square root of 5 there on that one though, right? I almost missed that. And then on this last piece, negative times a negative is going to make that a positive. Now let me,
Are they gonna cancel?
kind of.
The square root?
So that'll get you a 4 minus 2 square roots of 5 plus 2 square roots of 5 cancel. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is the square root of 25, which is 5. So that gets me negative 1. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see here, where am I at? Alright, so we gotta figure out what to do with that junk in the middle of this now. Any thoughts?
Can't.
Add like terms? No. No. Just
Well,
distribute the F.
okay. That's that. Let me put the X in the front. Okay. So that gets me,
That you do plus x squared root of
right here, yes it would. Cause a negative x times a negative square root of 5 would be a plus for a good Christian, that just saved my life. So these negative 2x and negative 2x makes negative 4x, and now, because Christian saved my error, thank you, Christian, that would have been disastrous. A positive x square root of 5 and a negative x square root of 5, that's nothing, he gone. And then we still have that minus 1 up there. Whew, I'm so glad Christian was paying attention. Okay? Now, we got that as normal looking as possible. We gotta bring down our x minus 3 to the party. So you can stack it vertically if you want to. Remember that day we did that? I'm just gonna put it out in front and distribute normal. So that's gonna get me an x cubed minus a 4x squared minus an x. Now I'm gonna do my negative 3, so that's negative 3x squared plus 12x plus 3. Combine those like terms and you're there. F of x is equal to x cubed minus 7x squared plus 11x plus 3. Bada bing, bada boom. Now, you won't see that as often, but I think you might see it once or twice. So, the trick on that is working with those square roots, and we'll do that again when we review next week.
Of course, that would have been a lot easier without the square roots, right?
Yeah, because you wouldn't have.
Wouldn't have to do all that.
Yep. All right, everybody all right?
Mm.
Okay, so Monday, there's one last section in this unit where we go back and talk about the graphs again, because we haven't talked about the graphs since the first day we started it. So we'll go back and talk about the actual graphs again. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 3 days, even Wednesday on your virtual day, we're gonna deal with study guide, and Friday we'll take the tests. Okie dokie? Sounds like a plan, Stan.